Hello and welcome to the Creating Healthy Wealth and Motherhood podcast with me, your host, PT Morgan of leveragedmama.com. This is episode 5, can you believe it? And today we are going to be going quite deep into creating the space to build a new business venture this year in 2020. So during these episodes, I encourage probably the most busiest people on the planet to start businesses, to build leverage income streams, etc., etc. And those busiest people are you, mums. But there is a saying, right? If you want something done, you ask the busiest person. Ask the busy person, because we busy people, we busy mums, we know how to get things done. We are masters, unfortunately, at multitasking, which isn't always healthy. But so that's not the problem. You know, starting a business, well, cool. Yep, we'll figure it out. Okay. But do you actually have real space to create a business that thrives? And by space, I mean mental, physical, emotional, just space in your life, financial, etc. You're probably already really conscious of where you choose to place your focus and to spend your time and spend your money and energy. These are all really super limited resources. So for me to just say, hey, you should do this new thing and build this new income stream and just kind of do that would be just pointless, because you never seem to have enough time anyway, right? You never have enough time, money, energy, focus. All of that stuff is so limited. But here's the problem for us mamas. Here you are, this super resourceful, smart, driven person who really wants to make a big improvement to yours and your family's future. But you're already operating at 110%. So this podcast is about creating healthy wealth in motherhood. So what we want to address here is, how do you actually build this new business venture or this new income stream, or however you choose to improve your family's wealth and future? How do you do that in a healthy way when you're already operating at 110% plus? So this is where I like to introduce an analogy. I'm a coach, so I love analogies. Don't worry, it's not going to be super abstract the entire podcast. We will go practical on this. But what I want to introduce you to is the concept of your garden. So what this garden represents is where your time and money and energy and focus has been going until this point. Don't worry if you're like a terrible gardener in real life. It's okay. I'm not so hot either. You're not doomed by using this exercise. But let's look at this garden of yours, and at first look you can see that, right? So we were saying you're at 110%. So your garden is full. It's kind of bursting at the seams, if we're honest. The seeds that you've been planting, you know, all these new business ventures and ways to increase wealth, etc., improve your lives. These seeds, they're sprouting, right? But there is a fight for space. There isn't actually a lot of resources to go around. So these ideas that you're having for businesses or income streams or whatever, these ideas are not going to flourish if they don't get the love that they need. So these plants in your garden, these ideas, they might sprout, but they're not going to flourish. They're not going to grow to their full potential if they don't have what they need. So sunshine, which for us, it's our attention. That sunshine, your attention, wherever that goes, well, things need it in order to be able to grow and thrive. So they're not going to grow when this attention is really patchy. If you don't have the attention to give it, that sunshine is not going to be shining down on those new sprouts, so they're not going to thrive. So you've got to be regularly watering them, pruning them, fertilizing, all of those gardening analogies that work so perfectly to describe growing ideas too. So what do? You've got this garden and it's quite full. and you want to grow something new in it, but you want it to be really, really awesome. What do? Well, of course, you go, I need to make some space. Great. But you can't just rip it all out and start again. As you probably know by now, I'm not an advocate for going full 100% bloody minded, just get this done. I'm more of a sustainable action type of person, and that's what I recommend for you too. So you're not going to rip all of the plants out in your garden and just make space for something brand new, because there are probably some really beautiful things in that garden that you probably want to stay. You might think about relationships and families and people and careers, and all these things are growing in your garden, and you've tended to them, and you don't want to just rip that out to make way for something new. So let's get a little bit more practical here. What are you going to do? You're going to start, obviously, with the weeds. You're going to start weeding your garden. All the really obvious things. You know they're weeds. You can look at them and you can go, yeah, all right, I know that's a weed. I know that's a weed. They're really obvious. You can just pull them out. These weeds are time sucks. So they're taking away attention and space, etc. So they might be things like checking your phone 20 times a day. That might be a weed that you know has to go. So you start with these weeds and you start taking them out, and they're gone, and that's really great. And this does create a little bit of breathing space for the plants and trees and things that remain in your garden, and that's great. Now you've got some breathing space. You don't really necessarily want to fill that breathing space up immediately with something else, right? Even with those weeds gone, there's probably still not enough space, unless you've got a really super weedy garden. There's not enough space to really grow anything of significance. Because when we're talking about creating a new business venture or an income stream, we don't want to be just hammering away at low return on investment things. That is not such a wise investment of time. We're looking at creating something substantial and significant. So we need more space to do that. We need to be able to give it more attention, to give it more mental energy, to give it more finances, physical space even you might need. So you can't really grow anything of significance if you haven't cleared enough space. So next you might want to look at the value of each thing that is left in your garden. So let's say you've done the weeding and it looks quite nice, and you've got a few big trees here and a few small things here and a patch of this here and a patch of that there. You look at each of those things and go, right, well, what am I actually getting from this item in my garden, in my virtual garden? Oh, this apple tree, it's huge. It's taking up so much space. But if you're really honest with yourself, those apples are shiz every year. They're sour, and the birds usually get to them first, and you never get to enjoy them anyway. There's a fairly low return on investment. All that space you're giving that apple tree and all that care and attention you're giving it, and it's giving you shitty fruit. Well, that's not very cool. You might think of the apple tree like a big relationship or an obligation that you have always had and you have always put time and space into. But if you're not getting much out of it, yeah, you might want to reconsider its place there. But again, you're not going to just rip it up. You and this apple tree, you've got history. So you can't just go along and go, right, see you later, get out of here, you're gone. But maybe you can just pay a little bit less attention to it. Maybe you don't prune it so much. Maybe you don't go looking for those apples so much. Maybe you just let them fall. That's okay. Let the birds have the apples, fine. Maybe you just see what happens naturally to that tree if you stop paying it so much attention. You might have some really hard choices to make here. And some you might not be ready to address to be really honest. Like, these are relationships and obligations and investments, like investments of time and or money, etc. You might just want to look at those and go, yeah, okay, we've got to address this, but I'm not ready. That's okay. You can see it there, just maybe not pay it so much attention. So maybe you have made some decisions at this point about what to prune, what to remove, what to give more time and energy to. The deciding will take some time and energy, but it's also the work involved to carry out those decisions. So if you have decided to remove one of these virtual plants from your garden, then there is work involved in doing that. And there is also work involved if we take it back to, say, it's a relationship that you need to prune back, or it's an obligation that you need to stop feeling so obliged, or stop carrying out. There's work in order to carry that through. But if you are lucky, you might get to this point and find that you've actually created enough space for a business, for that seed you planted to actually thrive. There's enough space for you to be able to pay enough attention to it, to give it what it needs to thrive. That is a massive win. You might get to this point and have that unfold in front of you, and that is wonderful. However, you know the nature of weeds, right? Weeds are a product of your environment. So you still need to do regular weeding and keep on top of it, or all of a sudden you're overrun again by weeds, because they'll come back. Weeds, maybe they're like little bad habits you've got. Habits are habitual. They will come back. So you just got to stay on top of these things and tend to your garden regularly if you want to keep creating that space or hold that space for your new venture. Unfortunately, some of you might get to this very point and have some pretty big questions in your head. So you might be looking at your garden and maybe it actually doesn't make much sense to you anymore, to the goals that you have. You've got this garden that you started growing it when you were much younger and had different goals, and now your goals have changed. Does this garden actually serve the purpose that it intended to back then? Maybe, I don't know, you might have a perfectly tended, high-yield vegetable garden, right, that actually feeds your entire family. That sounds on the face of it like a really good thing. Oh, gosh, I'd love that. But it's, of course, hard work. You've got to put a lot of work into a vegetable garden to get, the right vegetables growing in the right places and turn the soil over at the right time and pick things at the right time. That is a whole lot of work and attention that needs to go into that. So what if you get to this point and you are questioning and, well, I don't know. I've kind of always dreamed about having a flower garden. That, I just would really love to sit in my in the evenings in my flower garden, and that would really spark joy for me, sitting amongst these beautiful, fragrant flowers. So what if you've got this vegetable garden and you're like questioning if you even want that? Okay, well, this is where the new perspective is going to come in. So what are you going to do at this point? You might maybe just consider buying the vegetables instead. Even though you have put a lifetime's worth of work into growing that vegetable garden, maybe you just want to buy those vegetables and plant the flower garden that you've always dreamed of, and it's going to give you what you really want for your future, sitting around that fragrant flower garden in the evenings while you buy your vegetables from the local market or the farmer, etc. These are the questions that you need to pose to yourself. And is this garden actually serving me anymore? Is it serving me in the way that I need for the future? That's okay. These questions will come up, and that's a good thing. If you're not very abstract, if you're struggling with the abstract concept of the garden, then maybe you want something a little bit more black and white to work with here. And so we're going to talk about how to apply this in real life. So the garden analogy in real life. So like a budget, you really need to get some transparency first. So you need to understand, firstly, where your resources are going and whether that resource is time, money, energy, focus, emotional investment. You need to understand where it's going first. So tracking is always a good thing. If you are looking at the time you're spending, then you would perhaps track your time for a week and see where it's going. If you're looking at the money you're spending, track with a budget or ramp it up and use something like Pocketsmith to categorize all your spending. You need to get that aerial view of where are your resources going for now. And then at that point you can assess, what are my weeds? What things do I value or not? And what is the purpose of this garden that we're looking at? And is it fulfilling the needs that you have now and in the future? Is it meeting those needs? It might help, and it certainly has helped me, to get in touch with your intuition here, because when we are operating in a thinking state, we're thinking about things and we're assessing and we're critiquing and we're very critical. That is our critical mind giving us an assessment based on what it can see. What you really want to tap into is your intuition, and that is your subconscious mind. And in order to do that, you can do things like a visioning exercise. Sit down in a quiet place and imagine what your life is like in 5 years' time, or 10 years' time, or 20 years' time, and experience it in your mind, and look at the things that you're doing on a daily basis and what's making you happy, what doesn't exist in your life anymore, maybe. What are these things that your subconscious mind is able to tell you based on your gut instinct and everything it knows about it, all of your experiences that you cannot possibly recall all of the things that you need to know to make a good decision when your brain is fully awake. Let's just say that. So tapping into your intuition is going to really help you make better decisions that are more aligned with what you really, really want out of your life and what you really think. So you could do that visioning exercise and then journal it out. Get out a journal and just start writing about your thoughts and feelings about certain things. I spend a lot of time doing this and this is how I feel. Just get it out. That's your intuition talking to you, and that will give you some really good insights on what your weeds are, what you value, what you don't, etc. And then you can start making some decisions. But this could be overwhelming for some people. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that you think, God, I just really need to do something about that. You probably heard this advice from me before, but start with one thing. Just do one thing. Lift one weed, clear one space, one little thing, and that is going to clear a little bit of space for you. It might be, let's say you watch Netflix every night until 10 p.m. and therefore don't get up till 6 a.m. What if you slowly started to watch less Netflix? I'm only using this example because I've done it myself. If you started watching less Netflix and getting up a little bit earlier. I get up at 4:30 in the morning now, most weekdays, 4 out of 5 weekdays, most weeks. And I journal and I write outlines for podcasts and I write blog posts, and this is the time when my brain is at its most creative and most open and most intuitive. So working at that time in the morning isn't work to me. I just absolutely love it. But I had to address the weeds that were the late night Netflix watching. I didn't rip it all out at once. Slowly cut back. And to be honest, I still watch Netflix. I just don't watch it until late. Usually I am asleep by 8:30, 9 p.m. If you balked at that, hey, it's all good. Everyone is different. And that's fine. So you start with one thing, and what that one thing does, what clearing that little wee space does, is gives you the opportunity, gives another plant or another idea an opportunity to grow into that space. Or it maybe just gives you a little bit of breathing space. Who doesn't like that? I feel like by doing it this way, we are creating wealth in a healthier way, which is so super important when you are a busy mum with dreams. And creating it in a healthy way is going to ultimately give you what you actually are seeking, and that is happiness and a happy life with your family. We don't set out to be rich, right? We don't just go hunting for the money. It is about creating more happiness for us and our families. But I, having been through mental health issues myself with anxiety and depression and postnatal depression, I am a huge advocate for doing things in a sustainable way and pursuing our dreams, absolutely, because this is what gives us purpose in a healthy way. Because I ultimately want you all to be fulfilled and happy and fulfilling your potential, but not at the expense of your health and your happiness. So creating a little bit of space, even if you're not intending on creating a new income stream or a business or anything, maybe you just need a little bit more space in your life, and that can benefit all of us. There might be some hard questions to ask here. That's cool. If you want to chat about it with me, I'm more than happy to, because I've been there myself. But just start with one thing. One little thing, create a little bit of extra space, and if it's not your business that's thriving, it'll be you and your families. And that is what is so important to us today. So if you've listened this far, I would love for you to leave a 5-star review for this podcast and subscribe so you can get new content as it drops. This is going to help more mums be able to see this content, and maybe, just maybe, it might be what they want to hear, what they need to hear at the time. Drop an Instagram post. I love seeing your stories about listening to the podcast as well. It's also really hugely motivating to keep going and to keep recording these for you, because that's what it's all about, really. I love getting your feedback. You can actually leave me a message on the Anchor app or drop into the Facebook group, Creating Healthy Wealth in Motherhood, and drop a comment in there on the latest podcast episode. What are your takeaways? I'm super interested to know. What are your takeaways from this episode? Do you have any blindingly obvious weeds that you know have to go like straight up now, like you're going off to sort those weeds out right now? What are the trees that maybe aren't giving you the best return on investment? What are you going to do about those trees? And no, you're not going to rip them out, right? Maybe you are, but what are those trees? And do you have a vegetable garden when you'd rather have a fragrant flower garden? I actually have neither. I have cat poo through my garden. I'm doing air quotes, and that has to change, okay? I'm telling you right now, I'm going to do something about that, and I'm going to post it on Instagram to inspire you. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've listened and enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review on the podcast. This will help other mamas out there who might need to hear this discover the podcast. If you want to join us in the Facebook group, Creating Healthy Wealth in Motherhood, come on in and have a chat. I'd love to get your feedback, your questions, and to get to know you. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.